How is it conceivable that the first of three individuals in the Bible to die twice was Lazarus? This interpretation of Hebrews 9 verse 27 outlines a principle rather than an absolute and immutable law, as demonstrated by the fact that Lazarus and other individuals were raised from the dead and appeared to have died twice. However, this does not refute the statement that it is appointed for men to die once, and that judgment follows. 9:27 in Hebrews. Lazarus, together with his two sisters Mary and Martha, were disciples of Jesus. The first man on our list was a companion of Jesus. Our miracle was notable for two reasons. First, Jesus was a part of this amazing testimony, and second, it was also the time when Jesus grieved. They are referenced multiple times in the Gospels, notably in John 11 verses 1 to 2. However, this time there was a problem. Lazarus was ill and on the verge of death, and Mary and Martha knew that Jesus had the power to heal their brother. They sent a message to Jesus begging him to come. When Jesus heard the news, he said in John 11 verse 4 that the illness is not the cause of death, but rather exists for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be exalted. Jesus had promised that the illness would not result in death, but that these unfavorable circumstances, such as the blind man's case, were not the product of sin. They were intended to honor Jesus. Lazarus's illness fulfilled a spiritual function rather than being a punishment or a symbol of disobedience. John 11 verses 5 to 6 New American Translation. Because Jesus loved Martha, her sister, and Lazarus, he stayed 2 extra days in the same location after learning that he was ill. They all knew that Jesus felt this way because they had a close relationship with him. Despite this, Jesus stayed there for 2 more days. His procrastination seemed to reject his promise that he would recover. This passage demonstrates a crucial truth about prayer. When we are facing difficulties, we want God to answer us right away. When he doesn't, we are tempted to assume that he doesn't care. However, the truth is that we don't understand his timing or his goals because his ways are different from ours. There is a method to his seeming contradictions. Trust in him and his promises. Following this, he told the disciples, "Let us go to Judea again," to which they replied, "Rabbi, the Jews were just now seeking to stone you, and you are going there again." He then went on to tell them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up," as recorded in John 11 verse 7 and 8. The disciples then replied, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will recover." Now that Jesus had mentioned his death, they misunderstood him to be talking about a real sleep, so Jesus told them the truth in a direct manner. "Let's go see Lazarus. I'm glad I wasn't there for your sake so you could believe that he is dead." Lazarus was buried after 4 days of being dead. Even after the burial was completed, a number of acquaintances came to console Martha and Mary when Jesus and his entourage arrived in Bethany. Martha went up to Jesus and begged, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. This is entirely your fault." Martha felt both faith and uncertainty because, when it happens, uncertainty appears. When that happens, communicate your doubts to God in prayer. "Jesus, I called you, but you did not respond. None of this would have happened if you had listened to me." Nevertheless, she does not give up hope as she continues. You should have faith that he can handle your disappointment and spiritual struggle because he is omniscient and already aware of them. He told her, "I am the resurrection and the life." The present tense of the verbs live and believe in me also suggests that Jesus is a liberator in the here and now, not just in the future, even though she did not understand everything or know what would happen. He is the source of eternal life, which is why he can say that whoever believes in me will never die, meaning that he will pass directly from physical life to eternal life. John 11 verses 31 to 35 records Martha's confession of faith in Jesus as the Messiah and Son of God. After that, the Jews who had been comforting her in the house noticed that Mary was getting up quickly and leaving. They assumed that she was going to the tomb to cry there. When Mary arrived at the location of Jesus, she saw him and fell at his feet, saying, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw that she and the Jews who had accompanied her were crying, he was deeply moved and troubled and asked, "Where have you laid him?" They addressed him as Lord. Come and witness Jesus' tears. Mary began with the same words as her sister, "My brother would not have died if you had been here." Her tears impacted Jesus so much that he wanted to view the tomb, and after that we read the Bible's shortest but most important verse. Jesus grieved, and those with Mary and Martha saw how much he cared about Lazarus. Some were confused, wondering how a man who could heal the blind could not heal a sick person. If they believed that a man's death would be amazing, they were going to be in for a huge surprise. Lazarus had been dead for 4 days, so Martha disagreed with Jesus' instruction to remove the stone from the cave tomb's entrance. She knew that Jesus wanted to honor her brother, but the smell of decay would be intolerable. Jesus corrected her, telling her, "Did I not tell you that if you believe you will see the glory of God?" He then challenged her to demonstrate her faith in him by allowing the stone to be removed. Jesus did not want her to explain how the body decomposed. Instead, he wanted her to walk by faith, acting as though God is speaking truthfully, and then it would be up to Jesus to show the glory of God. Vision must come after faith. We won't know what God has in mind unless we obey what he has revealed if we want to witness his supernatural intervention in our situation. Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Patron, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here so they may believe that you sent me." This is according to the New American Translation of John 11 verses 41 to 42. Jesus could have healed Lazarus in private by arriving on time, but instead he arrived late to perform a spectacular and supernatural spectacle that confirmed his status as the Messiah and gave a sizable crowd confidence. Even if this brought about momentary suffering, it would have a profound spiritual impact and elevate God even further. John 11 verses 43 to 44. After saying these words, Jesus let out a loud cry. Jesus commanded them to release Lazarus, the dead man, who had his wrists and feet bound with strips of linen and his face covered with a cloth. Jesus contacted the deceased guy. When Lazarus came out of the tomb, a living man wearing burial garments and still chained to his body appeared. The dead had been raised to life. This is only a sneak peek at what's in store. Lazarus will eventually pass away physically once more, but those who follow Jesus will take part in the eternal resurrection and live eternally. In order to ensure that you don't miss any of our next videos, I kindly ask for your support by subscribing. Together, we can enlighten more minds and increase our understanding. Thank you for your time, and may God continue to bless you.